this lesson, we're going to review the Vlookup formula. The Vlookup formula is used when you have a specific item that you want to look up in a table and there's only one of that item in the table, i.e. it's unique. This uses a vertical lookup. Separately, you could use the Hlookup formula, but the Hlookup formula is when you're making a horizontal lookup from a row. This vertical lookup is when you're looking up data within columns. Let's take a look at the formula explanation before we jump into a couple examples. As shown on screen here, the formula is comprised of a few different syntax. There's the lookup value, which is the cell that you'd like to reference and look up within a table. There's the table array, and that's the range or array of data from which we want to look up our value, our lookup value. So you're looking up the lookup value within the table array. Note that the lookup value must be in the leftmost part of the table array. So if you're looking up that lookup value within a table, you must look it up within the leftmost part of that table, and then you can get the formula to return a result of other data within that table. And we'll take a look at an example of that. The column index number is the column where you want to return the result. So if you've got a bunch of data within a table, you need to indicate what result you want to return. The range lookup refers to either wanting an exact match or a close match, and for the most part you're going to be looking for an exact match. Let's take a look at an example. So in example 1, employees who work for Home Depot are organized into units and roles. They have employee designation codes depending on their role. The financial analyst needs to be able to obtain information for any particular employee at any time using raw data exported from the company's HR database. The analyst would like to perform a lookup of the employee's unit, designation, and gross pay within the table. So let's take a look at the raw data. We've got the raw data down below in this worksheet here, starting in row 46, and it goes all the way down until row 485. We've got the employee name, unit, department, role, gender, date of joining the company, date of enrollment, their health spending account information, housing allowance, some other spending allowance, a special allowance, and their gross pay. All this information was exported from the company's HR database. And what we want to look up is specific information related to an employee. If you take a look at row 22, we've got in cell C22, employee number 12. So the idea here is that the financial analyst wants to plug in the employee's information in cell C22, i.e. employee number 1, 2, 3, 12, etc. And the financial analyst wants cells D22 through F22 to populate the unit, role, and gross pay for that employee. We can do that by applying the Vlookup formula because the employee 12 is the employee name, and that exists within the table that's located in rows 46 onward. If you take a look at rows 46 onward, and actually if you take a look at cell C58, you can see employee 12 in there. But we're going to reference the entire data table. And when we reference this entire data table, we can return the results if a match is found for employee 12 or whatever employee we want to find. We can return the result of the data within the table depending on which column we want to return the result for. So as you can see, unit is column 2 of the table, role is column 4, gender is column 5, and so on. So let's take a look at how we can use the Vlookup formula to find the unit for employee number 12. I'm going to open up cell D22, and when I look at the formula, I use equals Vlookup, open parentheses, and then I reference cell C22. And note C22 is employee-12, and I'm doing a lookup of that within the entire data table. As you can see, I'm referencing the entire data table here, starting with cell C46 and ending at cell N485, which is the very last cell of the table. And as I reference that table, I want to return the result of employee 12's unit, and the unit is located within the second column of the table. So I put in 2 for the column index number in the formula, and then the range lookup, I'm just going to put a 0. When I press enter, it returns the result of unit 2. If I were to scroll down to employee 12, I can see that they're part of unit 2, and therefore the formula is working accurately. I can apply the exact same formula to look up the role of employee 12. In this case, for role, it's column number 4, and therefore I'm going to put a number 4 within the column index number within the Vlookup formula. Everything else remains the same. So you get the idea here. I can look up the gross pay, which is column number 12 of the table, and change this to say column number 12, and the employee's pay is $55,795 for gross pay. I can change employee number to employee number 1, 11, 10, whatever I choose, and it'll return the results of the unit role and gross pay, because the VLOOKUPs are just referencing the employee number within cell C22. So as you can see, the VLOOKUP formula is a very powerful formula when you've got a lot of data in a table and you want to perform a lookup of specific information within that table and return certain results. Let's take a look at another example. In our second example, assume the analyst is working with a very large data set and the columns are occasionally shifted. If you were to insert a column after column C here, beside name and before unit, the above formula would break because the unit lookup is to column 2. Let's just try that. I'm going to insert a column here. And as you can see, the formula in cell E22 broke. And that's because the formula was referencing the second column, and now the second column of the data table has nothing in it. The unit is now in column 3, but I'm not referencing column 3 in my data analysis for the VLOOKUP formula. I was referencing column 2. So everything is thrown off. As you can see, the role says indoor. The gross pay is inaccurate now. It looks like it's $47.61, but that's not accurate. So I'm going to undo that. I'm going to hit Control Z, and it undoes that insertion of the column. So how do we get around this hurdle? How do we overcome this hurdle so that the formula does not break if columns are inserted in the reference table? Well, instead of looking at using the simple VLOOKUP formula, we can use the VLOOKUP formula in combination with the match function so that we perform a match of the headers, i.e. the headers that are located within cells D21, E21, and F21, so that it pulls information into the above table and doesn't break when we insert a column within the data table. Let's take a look at our solution to figure out how that works. The only difference is that we're going to be using the VLOOKUP formula and inserting the match formula where the column index number part of the formula is contained. So I'm going to open up one of the cells here in the revised table with the nested match formula contained within the VLOOKUP formula. Let's take a look at cell D40. So again, we're using employee 12 as our example. And this time we're using a lookup of cell C40, which is employee 12. We're performing the lookup on the same data set, i.e. cells C46 through N45. And where we normally put in the column number of what we want to return, i.e. in this case it's column 2 for unit, instead of hard coding the number 2, I'm going to insert a match formula. So we're going to type in match, and then we're going to go through the steps for the match formula. We're going to put in the lookup value, which is cell D39, and D39 is a unit header. We're going to perform that lookup within the array being row 46 of the data table, i.e. cells C46 through N46. And if it's found, I want to return an exact match, so I put 0. And then in the last part of the VLOOKUP formula, I'm going to put in false because I want to find an exact match. I'm going to hit enter, and it returns the result for unit 2 for employee 12, which is accurate because we can see up in cell D22 that was the exact same result. So that's just another way in which we can use the VLOOKUP formula. If I were to insert a column here beside column C, we can see that in the first example of the VLOOKUP formula, the formula breaks, but in the second table here, where we use the match formula within the VLOOKUP formula, nothing broke and the formula remains intact and our data is accurate. We can similarly perform the VLOOKUP with the nested match formula embedded within it for the other characteristics that we want to find. And the only difference that we make in this formula to find the role is we change the reference cell from D39 to say E39 because we want to look up the role within the array. So that's a very handy way of preparing a VLOOKUP formula. I prefer to use a VLOOKUP or HLOOKUP with an embedded match formula for that reason. It just ensures in the long run, if you're going to be doing a lot of financial modeling or analysis, that your data will not break. It has more flexibility. You don't need to update the column numbers if anything changes later on. Hey guys, thanks for watching this lesson. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, I'd really appreciate a like and subscribe from you. And if you want to learn more about Microsoft Excel, check out these videos above. And don't forget to check out our website, commercecurve.com, where we have lots of in-depth finance and accounting courses available with full training workbooks. All of our courses come with complete workbooks of lessons, examples, pre-built financial models, and training video. Hope to see you there.